Contracts are everywhere in our daily lives. From buying a coffee to purchasing a home, we enter into agreements constantly, often without realizing the legal principles at work. At the heart of contract law lies a fundamental concept called the doctrine of consideration, which determines whether an agreement is legally enforceable. The doctrine of consideration requires that each party to a contract must provide something of value to the other. This mutual exchange is what transforms a mere promise into a legally binding contract. Without consideration, most agreements remain unenforceable in court. This legal principle has deep historical roots, dating back to medieval England. It emerged as a procedural requirement when plaintiffs needed proof to bring claims to court. Initially, actions to enforce agreements were restricted unless supported by a quid pro quo. Over time, courts recognized that contracts needed some element of exchange to justify legal enforcement. So what exactly constitutes consideration? In legal terms, consideration consists of a right, interest, profit, or benefit to one party, while the other experiences some forbearance, detriment, loss, or responsibility. For example, when you buy a product, your payment is consideration for the seller, while the product is consideration for you. Consideration must meet several important criteria to be valid. It must have some type of value, though courts generally don't evaluate whether the value is adequate or fair. It must be present or future-oriented, not based on past actions. The consideration must stem directly from the promise and must go beyond existing obligations. Finally, it must be possible, definite, and legal. Courts distinguish between the sufficiency and adequacy of consideration. Sufficiency means the consideration must be recognized by law as having value, while adequacy refers to whether the value exchanged is equal or fair. Interestingly, contract law doesn't require consideration to be adequate. Exchanging a car for $1 can be valid if both parties voluntarily agree, though courts may intervene if fraud or unconscionability is suspected. There are several exceptions to the traditional rules of consideration. Past consideration is normally invalid unless it was rendered at the promisor's request or with an implied promise of payment. The existing duty rule states that performing a duty already owed isn't valid consideration. However, if new or additional obligations are involved, this rule may not apply. One significant exception is promissory estoppel, which allows enforcement of promises without traditional consideration. This doctrine applies when someone reasonably relies on a promise to their detriment. Unlike consideration, promissory estoppel cannot be used to form a contract but can enforce promises in an existing agreement. Modern legal systems are gradually evolving in their approach to consideration. Some jurisdictions are moving away from strict adherence to the doctrine, adopting principles like good faith and fair dealing as alternative bases for enforceability, especially in commercial contracts. Courts may also apply concepts like economic duress or inequality of bargaining power, instead of focusing solely on consideration. Landmark cases have shaped our understanding of consideration over time. In Curry v. Mesa from 1875, consideration was defined as a right, interest, profit, benefit, or forbearance, detriment, loss, or responsibility. Thomas v. Thomas established that motive is not the same as consideration, emphasizing the need for legal value. More recent cases like Williams v. Rafi Bros introduced the idea that practical benefits can constitute valid consideration. Understanding the doctrine of consideration is crucial for anyone entering into contracts. While it may seem like a technical legal concept, it serves an important purpose, ensuring that agreements represent a genuine exchange of value rather than empty promises. As contract law continues to evolve, the fundamental principle remains that agreements must be supported by something of value to be legally binding.